Hello my soccer universe and welcome to the review of round 28 of the 24-25 Serie A. This was an exciting weekend. We had both Milan teams come back from 2-goal deficits to win in dramatic fashion. However, I can tell you for Milan, this win felt it was not that great. And I'll talk more about this when we review this match. For Inter, it really meant that they stay fully in the title race because a loss there would have opened the gates up for Napoli to overtake them again. But the biggest story of the entire weekend, no, it's not Roma and Bologna, who are two of the informed teams. It's the team that's right up here, Atalanta, going to Juventus and beating them 4-0. But the bigger story here is that Juventus are in absolute shambles. That they are still in contention for a Champions League spot does not really speak highly of the strength that Serie A have. It reminds me a little bit of last season where Juve had a relatively strong start, thought they were in a title race and then completely fell off. At the moment, Juventus are completely falling off. Yes, they're holding on to this fourth spot, but they are as much in disarray as Milan are, and on top of that, they are also with financial trouble. And the Motta project, the one that was so much hailed ahead of the season, they took care of that, they got him the players that he wanted. It never really took off, and now it is really tanking and going all the way down. Maybe they can make a turnaround, but I think Motta is definitely on the... And the troubles, like with Milan, extend way beyond just the bench and the squad. It goes up into the management, which is also not worthy of Juventus. But let's dig in and let's quickly review all of the games that happened this weekend in Italy. It is very indicative of how bad Milan's season is when you really cannot celebrate all that much. A 3-2 away win at Lecce after being 2-0 down. But there are kind of a few mitigating factors. The first one is you concede 2 goals against a team that has not scored at home since last December. That just cannot happen. This is a team that is down in the doldrums and you almost were about to lose to them. The second reason why the celebrations were not as highly defensively, it was an absolute mess, especially in the first half where after Kristovic scores the go-ahead goal, which was a beautiful goal, they hit also the post and there were a few scenes where I'm really thinking, oh, this can get really, really ugly. And despite playing forward being actually nice, and there are some quite nice ideas in there, defensively, it was never rock solid and you always were worried. The worries only subsided when, in the second half, then the big names came on because Conceição gave, of course, the young guys a little bit of a run out in the first half, and that did not really work out either. The next thing was that the first half was almost picture perfect description of the season for Milan. You scored 2 goals, both rightly called off for offside. I mean, in the first minute, you get the go-ahead goal called offside by Jimenez, and Gabbia equalizes in the 15th, where you thought, oh, this might now settle everything. No, it really did not. And then lastly, yes, you scored 3 goals between the 68th and the 81st minute to turn the game around, and once it was 2-2, there was really only one winner. But the goal that actually got Milan back, it was a really bad shot by João Felix that would have gone, closer to the corner flag than the goal. That is deflected by Gallo into the net. And so, you didn't really do much for that. Even the equalizer, it was a penalty. A clear penalty, but it's also... As I said, the first half, Kristovic scores a beautiful goal to open the scoring. He hits the post a little bit later on. Milan also did hit the post. I think it was in the second half. There was also a good chance by Musa in there, but in the 59th minute, Kristovic doubles the lead and you really think, oh, this is going badly. Then the own goal, the aforementioned one, the penalty where Pulisic takes forever to take the penalty. You could clearly tell he missed the one against Torino. No, he didn't miss it. It was a great save by Milinkovic-Savic, but he was nervous and he just yanked it into the net. And then Leao, really nice cross in, and Pulisic taps it in from a short distance in the 81st minute to give the winner. The goal that made it 2-1 was also, João Felix is technically given the assist on that one, but this was also all Leao. Once Leao came on, it made a whole lot more sense. So why don't we start him from the beginning? I guess you wanted to give him a rest. Maybe Leao on tired legs works, but as I said, it's a win. Theoretically, although I already said it's over, with other teams not doing that great as well, you're back into the race for the Champions League spots. No, you're not back in the race for Champions League. You might get a Europa League spot. It should all be about the cup right now, a trophy that you have not won in ages. However, the cup doesn't give you Champions League, and this is the goal for Milan. So no matter how you look at it, it's going to be a disappointing season, and I think there will be change at the coaching level, which to me, on one side makes sense, on the other side doesn't make sense at all, and we're gonna see. Let's move on to the title race, because the other Milan team also came back from a 2-0 deficit to win 3-2. And yes, I'm fully aware of the irony that I'm wearing an Inter jersey and proceed to proclaim my dislike for them. But yeah, that's how it works out in this video. Inzaghi again decided to change up the lineup a bit. You know, you played in the Champions League, you need to save your good players because that program for Inter is becoming really, really tight, and you want to stay in all three competitions. You know, there have been talks of a triple again for Inter, maybe too early. And Lautaro Martinez gave them the lead in the 24th minute, how it was called off for handball. And then Mota assists two brilliant goals for last place Monza. That's a team that is more or less down. They should not lead 2-0 at the San Siro. Birindelli and Balde, and both really pretty goals to boot as well. And I would argue if this goes 2-0 into half time, and Inter will have a really hard time coming back. However, Marko Arnautovic, after Dumfries' cross, pulls one back, and that is game on for Inter. In the second half, he brings on Carlos Augusto, he brings on Bisek, you know, add a little bit more offensive power. And it is then Bisek who plays it over to Çalhanoğlu, who just unleashes a shot that was similar to the one by Adeyemi. However, it hits the floor as well. In the 64th minute, it's 2-2, and everyone knew that there was only gonna be one winner after that one. And the winner then came by Kyriakopoulos' own goal. Yes, Lautaro Martinez was in there as well, and he was celebrating wildly, but when you look at the replay, it was an own goal, and in the end, Inter deserved to get that win, and for a night took a 4-point lead over Napoli. But you could definitely tell that Napoli was buoyed by the late draw against Inter, where they actually outplayed their rivals, and they played really well against Fiorentina, at least for the first hour or so. There was really pretty stuff. Lukaku opened scoring at 26th minute, and the way Lukaku and Raspadori then combined in the 60th minute to make it 2-0, that was a really well-worked team goal. And Napoli took it to another level. This is not the timid Napoli that we've seen for the past month. This was a Napoli side invigorated against a Fiorentina side that had the European disappointment at Panathinaikos and is generally not doing really well. However, Gudmundsson in the 66th minute pulls a goal back, and then there were some nervy moments, and Napoli could not make it 3-1. Although the chance was there, I think, for Giovanni Simeone, but in the end, they see the game out and stay a point behind Inter. Despite the two Milanese comebacks, the big result of the round was Juventus 0, Atalanta 4. And the worst thing I can say about this, that this is not down to Atalanta's brilliance, but the shambles that Juventus are currently in. Atalanta just needed to do a normal job to completely outplay Juventus. Juventus, you know, first half and so on, it was probably a little bit tighter, but you could always see that Atalanta is a team, whereas Juventus are really, really struggling, and they're not even having the defensive solidity that really was the hallmark earlier in the season. Then Atalanta take the lead through a Retegui penalty in the 29th minute, and yes, it's unlucky, but if McKennie has the hand above his head, it's a hands penalty. Retegui converts, and I guess we can already say that he's the capocannoniere. I think he has 7 goals more than Moise Kean already. So that should seal that one up. And Atalanta then toyed with Juventus. Should have probably been even 2 before the half, because Lookman hit the post and had another good chance where he probably should have scored. He didn't. However, right after the halftime kick-off, Deron makes it 2-0 for Atalanta, and then it was pretty clear who's going to be the winner. Zappacosta in 66 adds his third, and then Lookman in the 77th also gets a fourth. And if Atalanta would have played brilliantly and even heaped on more pressure, this could have gotten really, really, really ugly. And so, while technically Juventus were potentially in a title race, that result, definitely takes it out of them. Atalanta on the other side, this was a famous win. This one will live on in memory. This one is probably right up there with the wins at Anfield, the win in the Europa League final, winning at the Juventus Stadium 4-0. This is a rare result for Atalanta, because even when they were well, they barely ever did something great in Turin. So huge credit for Atalanta, and I think that result keeps them in a title race, although they have a really tough run-in. On Friday evening, Cagliari took the lead at home against Genoa in the 18th minute through Viola. Were actually quite well in the game. However, in the second half is more Genoa, and Cornet already in the 47th gets the equalizer. Genoa then pressing for the winner. However, it doesn't materialize. Venezia is not a side of many wins. However, they again pick up a draw, again at a tough opponent in Como, a Como team that has been rather resurgent as of late. Como took the lead in the 49th minute through Ikone and seemed like they're the surefire winners, and then Gütkir with a penalty in the 95th minute grabs another point for Venezia. Unfortunately for them, probably will not be enough to survive in Serie A. Parma also rescue a point at home to Torino, twice coming back from deficits, 2 goals by Elmas and Adams, twice equalized by Pellegrino. However, like for Venezia, though Parma are currently outside of the relegation zone, you need to turn these draws into wins if you really want to survive in Serie A. Bologna very much remain a silent threat for the last Champions League spot of Serie A. They get a 2-1 away win at Verona, with Otker and Cambiago scoring the 2 goals. Valentini was sent off for Verona just before the second Bologna goal. However, Mosquera pulls one back with a man down. But the informed team in Serie A has to be Roma. What Ranieri is doing is just amazing. This was a team that was so close to relegation. Now they waltz easily to a 1-0 win at, admittedly, really bad Empoli. Matthias Süle already in the first minute scoring the fastest Serie A goal this season gives them the lead. They do not add on, however, they were never really in danger of conceding. I mean, the XG was 1.99 to 0.12. Roma might very well finish at least in the European spots, and the Europa League is also in their eyes. City rivals Lazio, though, cannot really take advantage of the good results of all the other opponents and only manage a 1-1 draw at home against Udinese, and honestly an Udinese team that gave them a real run for the money. They were very good for that draw. They took the lead through Thauvin in the 22nd minute. It was a rather comical sequence. I think a Thauvin shot was blocked. Then Lorenzo Luca, the guy that took the penalty of Thauvin 2 weeks ago, also takes a shot. It's blocked and Thauvin kind of falls over and it's into the net. It was even to the point where I saw that chance and I kind of had spaced out, and then I said, what? They took the lead? Really weird stuff. 10 minutes later, Romagnoli gets the equalizer. It's the second goal within a week for Lazio from Romagnoli. I don't think he has scored for Lazio before. But yeah, it ends 1-1, although I really thought that Udinese were pressing Lazio. Only late on I saw a little Lazio surge. Too little, potentially. They could have overtaken Juventus. But yeah. So let's check out the table after all these matches. It's still Inter, a point ahead of Napoli and 3 ahead of Atalanta. So we have a title race with 3 teams. And again, Inter have potentially the deepest squad. However, Napoli have the advantage of not having to play in Europe, whereas Inter's calendar is chock full, especially in April. They have potential Champions League, should they move on against Feyenoord, which everyone would expect. They have the Cup semi-final against Milan, so that's a highly emotional match. And they have quite a schedule coming up in Serie A as well, so it will all come down to squad management for Simone Inzaghi, and also will come down whether Conte can find the right formula that, despite the injuries, that Napoli can keep on churning and getting wins. For Atalanta, they have the toughest remaining schedule. Really tough games coming up, but Atalanta is doing better against good teams, so I'm not really counting out Atalanta quite yet, but to me, in my mind, it's down to Napoli and, of course, the favorites Inter. The race for the 4th spot, that's the last Champions League spot, unless Inter win the Champions League and fall out of the top 4. Yeah, not gonna happen, that one. Juventus are still in pole position and Lazio is a point behind. Lazio is kind of falling off. Bologna is really picking up steam, so I actually think that Bologna could do this. Or is it Roma? Or is the distance way too far behind? And yes, Roma are the informed team and Ranieri has really gotten the turnaround for Roma. However, their schedule is also about to get a little bit tougher. Milan sitting in 9th. not going much further than that. Maybe Conference League, maybe Europa League, but I think it's all about the Copa. You have to win the Copa. I've said it already multiple times, and yeah, it's still a disappointing season because you're not making Champions League. On the bottom, it's getting murky in a way. Yes, Venezia, Monza down, although Venezia keep picking up points. If they can turn draws into wins, I think Venezia have a chance of survival. And so, Cagliari not really out of it, Verona not really out of it, Lecce dangerously hanging there, Parma picking up also points. They stay ahead of Empoli, an Empoli team that started well into the season but are completely falling apart. I still have Parma slightly ahead of Empoli for going down, but it's really anyone's guess at this moment who will be the last team that gets relegated. The upcoming round features an interesting quirk. Roma's game at home to Cagliari kicks off at 4 o'clock. That's not Serie A time. And I checked with Serie A. Yes, this is a 4 o'clock kickoff. Doesn't really make sense. However, to me, this is all about the last game on Sunday. Atalanta against Inter. If Atalanta win that one, they are fully back into the title race, and it also would open the door for Napoli to overtake Inter, because Napoli have a relatively easy game at Venezia, but I've been saying Venezia have been picking up the points, so maybe not that easy. We also have a huge matchup in terms of the Champions League places. Bologna against Lazio. From the Bologna are in, they might beat Lazio as well, and Juventus have to bounce back against Fiorentina team that has been also very much on a losing run, where also things behind the scenes are not working as well. So that's the other big name matchup. Milan play against Como. I think that will be a tough match, and I don't expect a win. That's really sad to say. So, those were my thoughts from round 28 of the Serie A. If you're neutral, and I guess at this moment I'm becoming slightly neutral. No, I'm not a neutral because I don't want Inter to win that title. But if I was neutral, I think the title race could be really exciting, especially if Atalanta take off points Inter next week and allowing Napoli potentially to pass them, then we have again a little bit more excitement in there. But even if Inter and Napoli would win, yes, this would whittle down the title race to 2 teams, but that's rather exciting. Also, the shootout for this 4th spot, really interesting. I want to see how far Roma can go. It will also depend very much on how well they're doing in the Europa League, because that might be the big target for Roma this season, but should also be for Lazio. But Roma have a really steep task going to Bilbao. Please let me know your thoughts on Serie A in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these. I'll talk to you soon with more things in my Serie A universe. Bye! Hey there! I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!